Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Rock. I am a Policy Associate in Student Services and K-12 Alignment at the Washington State Board for Community Technical Colleges. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. This is the Community and Technical College Running Start Series, March 19th edition. We are going to be holding this session from 1 to 3 today. We will, I think important to note, we are going to have a presentation portion, and then we will do breakout sessions later on today. And so the presentation portion will be recorded and then shared out on our SBCTC YouTube playlist, dual credit playlist. So thank you for being here, everyone. We've got a great agenda ahead of us, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next slide. Okay, introductions first. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our program administrator, Kristen Jowie, because she's working behind the scenes and has asked me to introduce her. She's our program minister of Student Services and K-12 Alignment and is just wonderful with all the tech support and help that she aids with. So she'll be monitoring the chat today and recording and helping us with the breakout sessions among all the other things she does behind the scenes. So thank you, Kristen, for being here. Tim McLean with OSPI, he will not be joining us today, but he did complete a slide for us. So I will be going over the dual credit updates on his behalf. And so I believe he'll be joining us again for our April installment. And then I'm going to go ahead and ask our student financials expert, Brandon Reed, to introduce himself. So go ahead, Brandon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, Brandon Reed here at the State Board in the IT division for CTC customer support, and looking forward to reviewing a few updates with you.
Perfect. Thanks for being here, Brandon. And then Spencer is not joining us today, but he is very important behind the scenes. And so we left his name up there because he contributes very much to the work that we all benefit from as a Running Start system. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it on to over to Noah for introductions.
Hello, everyone. My name is Noah Overby. I'm with the State Board as well, with the policy research team.
Wonderful. Thanks, Noah, for being here. And then we have a special guest, Jenny Walden. I saw Jenny pop in here. Jenny, if you'd like to jump in and introduce yourself, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jenny Walden. I'm a consultant with LISC Puget Sound, and we are partnering with the State Board to lead community engagement for the low-income housing study, and I'll share more about that later on our slide. Thanks.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks for being here. All right, so let's take a look at our agenda for today. So we will have some dual credit updates, as I said, from SBCTC's side of the house and also on behalf of OSPI. Much of it is review and stuff that you all have heard before, but we just thought it would be important to mention again today. And then Jenny, as Jenny just said, we'll be talking about the Student Housing Needs Survey, and there will be an opportunity for some Q&A as well as after the dual credit updates portion. And then we're going to turn it over to Brandon Reed with Student Financials. He has some updates and a survey he's going to present to you all. Brandon took the idea from Tim McLean's work with the Running Start EVF survey. And so he has with his team, created a CTC link survey that he's going to walk through and present today. So really excited about that opportunity and to share that with you all today. And then we'll have Noah Overby do a policy data presentation for us. He's going to go over some Running Start and college and high school data, and then also show us as a system how we can look at data from a dashboard standpoint. And so he'll do a little how-to on that, and then be available for some Q&A. So that's what we're looking at today for our agenda. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So couple updates. So Washington State was, I've shared this a couple times. We are part of a 7-state cohort. We were awarded that opportunity to basically look at dual credit and putting together a vision statewide for dual credit and what that looks like. And so we were awarded a technical assistance grant, not a lot of money, $20,000, but it's money. And so it's for 2 years. And so right now we're at the beginning stages, and our work group, is looking at doing some work around the dual credit ecosystem for the state. So who are our key players? Who needs to be in the room? Who are decision makers who should be included that maybe hasn't been in looking at dual credit system and statewide. So not a lot of an update yet, just in those beginning stages on who we need to make sure that is part of the conversation and creating that collaborative vision for our state for dual credit. The next bullet point there is student support programs presentation follow-up. So we had our SBCTC student support programs presentation in January as part of the Running Start series here. And just a couple bullet points here that we wanted to circle back on as follow-up. During the presentation, we provided a funding matrix. The student support programs provided a funding matrix, and just wanted to circle back to that conversation because our students, our Running Start students, can be eligible for a lot of different supports on campuses outside of what Running Start supports students with tuition, right? And so we recommend that everybody takes a look at that funding matrix. And thank you, Kristen, for dropping that in the chat. And see how this can fit at your college if you haven't had a chance to do so yet. If additions have been made at your college, other requirements of students. So taking this matrix basically and just having those conversations at your college, I think is really what we wanted to make sure to portray because there could be additional funding sources and opportunities for your Running Start students that maybe haven't been tapped into yet. So just wanted to flag that one again. And then one thing that we've been talking about internally at SBCTC is, and one thing that came out as a result of that student supports program presentation in January was that you all have a ton of innovative ideas and things that you are doing independently at your colleges for Running Start students. And so we're trying to always think outside of the box, especially for these monthly series of what can we do to share that information system wide, right? Like who's doing something that maybe others might want to take and learn from, right? And we have the idea of the breakout sessions, right? Here monthly, but we would like to maybe have an opportunity for you all to present possibly at one of these sessions, these monthly sessions on something that you're doing that's very innovative for your students that others might like to hear and learn from. So stay tuned. We'll put out probably like a survey in April for that to gather some information from you all of, hey, did you all think of this? Like we'd like to present on this. So just trying to figure out additional ways to bring you all in and to share out other than kind of one-off breakout sessions or in addition to. The other bullet point I wanted to mention is the Future Ready Initiative. Some of you all may have already been tapped into this, but this is the State Board of Education. They are really trying to shape Washington State High School diploma requirements. And so this initiative is expected to span for multiple years, but basically looking at our high school diploma requirements system-wide, statewide, and what should we change? What should we do differently? What's going to be best for students? And so that's what this Future Ready initiative is. And Kristen thank you, Kristen, dropped the link in the chat there if you'd like to get more information. SBCTC is part of the task force, so we definitely have a way to communicate, share thoughts, and all different kinds of feedback. And there will be additional opportunities to do so in the next 2 years as this goes on. But the idea would be that this work will lead to a major legislative proposal anticipated for the 2027 legislative session around high school diploma requirements. So just wanted to flag that. That's a very important one. And so just wanted to make sure everyone's aware of that work going on. In terms of legislative updates, a lot of bills are unfortunately dead at this point. The one that is still going strong but has been definitely dialed down is that CTE dual credit bill, which is Senate House Bill 1273. So it's been scaled down quite a bit. So it's basically a continuation of the existing proviso work with no expansion at this time. And Kristen has dropped that into the chat as well for folks to refer to. And then one other thing just wanted to mention is the NASEP National Conference. I know many of you attend that every year. It is October 26th through 28th in Los Angeles, California this year. Registration is going to open in May, so we will be sure to share that out as well during our May series session, just as a reminder for folks. So as you're looking at budgets and considerations for travel, I know it's tight. Just wanted to flag that one, the NASEP conference. Okay, for OSPI dual credit updates. So basically, Tim has OSPI and Tim has put forward the summer and the 2025-2026 RSEVF. They are available on the OSPI webpage there, the course-based dual credit page. And so just a few notes here, and Tim talked at length about this during our February session. But basically just having grace, right, between K-12 and higher ed, if there's minor mistakes on the form, just having that communication touch point of making those corrections without sending the form back and forth until we find a better technical fix, right, across our system, hopefully moving forward here. So just having grace with your colleagues of understanding that the form is pretty complex, right? There's a lot on it. And so little details might get missed. And so just working together to make sure that that's completed for students so that they can move forward and be registered. And then Tim just wanted me to note that, it is acceptable to accept the 2024-2025 RSEVF. There's not a ton different. So when necessary, fill it out with the situation, but that it's totally okay to accept the older form. And then the multiple college FTE split between colleges, that now is on the form, which is nice, a little bit of a flag there, but it would be up to the colleges to figure out then what the FTE is going to be available for the student split between the colleges. Tim wanted me to let you all know that the Running Start legislative report is approved but embargoed until posted, so we don't have access to it yet, but hopefully soon. I'm sure he will let everyone know when that does happen. But for now, the data tables are currently available on the OSPI webpage, so you can kind of take a look at that in the meantime. And then just a reminder, the dual credit notification template and bulletin is out there. It's been out there for several months now. And Tim and his team are working on the translations and hosting through Transact at this point. And then Tim just wanted me to provide his dual credit office hours. I believe his March one was yesterday. So I don't know if anyone was able to attend that one, but his April date is April 16th. This is next one, 3 to 4. And perfect. I think that Kristen will be dropping that in the chat there too, those dates. And then last but certainly not least, summer running start. Just some reminders. So standard summer available is the 10 credit max. So students with that FTE capacity for summer using the summer RSEVF. And then the after exit is increasingly unlikely due to the budget crisis that we're in right now. So do not promote to students is really where we're at with that, because we do not know for sure that that funding will be available. I believe Tim spoke to this last time that it most likely will not be. So stay tuned to hear more. We probably won't know until the legislative session wraps up. But just a word to the wise: do not promote that to students. And then graduating students may pen graduation to participate, and then see the FAQ for that, number 93, speaks more to that in detail. Okay, now I have the honor of returning it over to Jenny Walden. Thank you, Jenny, for being here to speak a little bit more about this low-income student housing study that you all have.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephanie. And I saw Laura's in the audience too, so please join in, Laura, anytime. But I'll kick us off. So yes, LISC Puget Sound is partnering with SBCTC and kind of a whole project team to lead this low-income student housing study. And really the focus, and I put it on the screen, is to more deeply understand student challenges with housing and explore opportunities to increase affordable housing on campuses. and your campuses, we recognize that there's been a number of surveys done around basic needs and housing insecurity, and this is really meant to go deeper and really gather, where possible, actionable insights that can be sort of unique to each campus, and then also that we could potentially look at a statewide policy level. So it's trying to do all of the above, right? Many of you probably have seen the survey that has gone out. So we're reaching out to the CTC communities in a variety of ways. So one is the survey, and I'll drop it in the chat as well. If you have not completed it, please consider doing so. It's open for staff and faculty and community partners who work with students. So, feel free to share it with your colleagues and also any other community partners that you're like, they work with students and they might have some special insight. And open doors. Yes, exactly. So everyone, please do that and spread the word. We have almost 250 respondents so far from the colleges, which is great, but everyone's voice matters in this survey. And then the second way we're diving deeper is I'm meeting one-on-one with folks for quick 30-minute conversations, which we could talk for probably 3 hours each, but we try to get it down to 30 minutes. I just sort of try to more deeply understand the challenges on your campus. If there's student housing, how is that working? Where are there opportunities to address affordability in housing for students? What are the challenges? I am in the process of doing these conversations right now, and I would love to do more, and especially make sure your perspective from the work that you do is elevated in those conversations, particularly when we think about the K through 12 students transitioning into colleges and what housing needs there might be. My sort of ask here is if there's like even 5 from this group that would be willing for me to email them and set up a conversation. If you wouldn't mind dropping your email in the chat, I will follow up. And if I get more than 5, I'll reach out to all of you. But yeah, thank you for this opportunity to share more. And I'll sort of pause if Laura, you wanted to add anything, and then also if there's questions the group has.
I'll just say, this particular audience is really important to me because I think you have conversations with students, not only while they are still completing high school and being dual credit students, but also as they're thinking about that next transition. I suspect that you're having conversations about what are those students' concerns? What are they considering? Is housing a factor in when they're making a choice, and what are they looking for? Have they thought about campus housing because it would make their lives more convenient and they've run into barriers, for example, or there's not enough? And I'll just nudge you a little bit that the survey may have some questions that you're like, I don't know anything about land use or at my college, but I do know something about this other. You can skip any question that you feel like is outside of your domain, but any insight you have from those interactions that you are constantly having with students about how they're making their plans and what their housing needs are, what their worries are, all of that helps to inform our study. So thanks so much for that. And did anyone have questions for Jenny or myself?
Well, and thank you, Laura. Sorry, I did not know that you were on here today, so I'm so sorry I did not introduce you. Thank you for joining us. Laura is just amazing. Part of our SBCTC Student Supports Team, Program Administrator. So thank you, Laura, for being here. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you to the both of you, Jenny and Laura, for taking the time today and sharing your information. Oh, it looks like we do have a question. Does this study encompass traditional and dual credit students?
Yes. Yes, it does. Thanks for the good question.
All right. Well, thank you so much to the both of you. So I guess now's just a time for any general Q&A questions from the dual credit updates, or if something has come up for Jenny or Laura, now would be a great time to ask away. And it's okay if nobody has questions, that's fine too. All right, well, we will go ahead and move on. All right, next up is Brandon Reed with our student financial Running Start updates. Thank you, Brandon, and take it away.
Thank you. Yes, from these Running Start series, since the very first one, as we've learned from you all, some needs and desires, we have made several updates, and the two query updates I have today for you are from conversations that that began here at the Running Start series and then continued to make sure that we understood and tested these out and got them into, or at least got one of them into production already. And that first report update to give you is for the SFRS tuition due report that some of you may use in CTC Link. And the request was to add a column for whether or not a student has a payment plan. And so the way we incorporated that into the report was essentially using the B70 service indicator, which is used for both the NELNETs and the delivered CTC Link payment plans in the system. And so if when reviewing this report to find out who owes money and who's, if folks are outstanding, you will now be able to see if they have a payment plan on file. And so this is in production right now, and please feel free to run it and let us know what you think. Again, that's the SFRS tuition due CTC Link report. The other report that is I tested this morning and will be in production very soon is a validation report that Spencer and Stephanie and I worked on over the past month or so since the prior Running Start series. And this was a report that is meant to help catch any issues that may have happened when rolling students from term to term. Specifically, as noted here on the slide, if a student's in the two student groups and you enter the prompted term and they will show on the report if there's missing data, and that missing data, of course, could impact how the tuition is charged on the account. And so what we learned is that sometimes you're going through and you're updating and you're entering max dates, and you may forget to hit the save button and then continue on. And what this will do is leave off some crucial data that helps calculate tuition and calculate the waiver. And so what this validation report provides is essentially a list of students that have missing data on their account for a term. And the testing this morning did yield some data from a couple of colleges. And so when in the upcoming weeks, probably at least within 2 weeks, we will let you know when this is available for use and review. And I was hoping, Stephanie, you wouldn't mind sending a note out to the RS listserv when this new report is available, so that folks can maybe run it for this term and maybe even go back a few terms. Because I'll say that I used last fall as a test term, and it did yield some results for a few colleges that I was looking at. So please be aware that these two reports or one report's available and the other one is going to happen so much very soon. And so we look forward to letting you know that's available. And the second item I was going to chat with you all today is, as Stephanie mentioned, is a survey that we would like to hear from you about. And this survey incorporates several different parts of the system and the functionality, whether it's kind of asking you about some of the reports that you use or the actual functionality within the custom CTC Link page. And if you don't know, we're on the third iteration of this custom page the process running start page in CTC Link. And so we will continue to develop it, and you are the group that's going to drive that development. We test and manage and work tickets for this, but you are all the crew that is in it more frequently than we are. So we will work with you and make sure that your desires, as long as we can make it kind of fit for the whole system, we'll make it in to changes, and so to make improvements happen so that your daily work life can maybe be a little bit easier. And so this survey, Kristen will drop it in the chat, I'm sure, if she already hasn't. And we will, you know, if you can, yeah, if just to review some of the questions, like I was mentioning, there's a couple of broad questions, like what would you like to see, why, and then as far as some of the support and collaboration, if there's any ideas, if there's any groups that you would like us to help facilitate to grow, technical groups or non-technical groups, we can work with you to develop that. And we also wanted to hear from you with regards to some of the processing that you go through and whether or not you're feeling good about what's out there, and so that we can kind of customize some of the training that's upcoming, and that we try to provide on a semi-regular basis. And so there's a couple of questions that just, you know, feel free to rate where you are in these couple of different processes. Reading the customer account is always one that we are more than happy to speak with you about. And again, some of the broad you know, ideas that you may have with regards to that process running start page. You may know that there's a few fields in there that aren't utilized to their fullest extent, and we can help you out with that for sure, and see if there's something that we can change those into. Those you know, are available for use, and they would require less development than you know, making a brand new change to that custom page. And then lastly, is about some of those queries, as I was mentioning. So if there is a super query or a simple query that you utilize on a regular basis that you run off for validation or for testing or for anything that helps you get through the day, and you don't see it in the global area of the query system and the reports, please just let us know. We will use that, and we can make it into a global query for everyone, and so that the access is out there. And so, and again, we're trying to finish with again some of those broad asks from you. If you have any ideas, we would love to hear them. So please take a couple of minutes and fill this out. I would love to have as many respondents as mentioned in a previous survey. That would be lovely. And so thank you for taking time to hear me out today, and be sure to check out the enrollment query or the tuition due query and the soon to be validation query. And with that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions on from the SF area and the custom running start page, or how CTC Link interacts with you.
Brandon, we've got a couple of questions in the chat. You might have answered some of them. Hillary asked, would it be possible to have both tuition and fees run at one time and be able to choose more than one account type?
So to have tuition and fees run at more than one time, are you referring to the tuition calculation process, Hillary? Maybe a little more detail on that?
No, in that query, the tuition due
Oh,
query. Like, I want to know, I don't care why they owe the money. I just want to know if it's above zero.
oh, okay. On the tuition due query, the one column in there is just the straight balance. And so
Right, but when you select
Oh.
it, you have to choose tuition or fees.
Okay, yeah, I can
would
look
like
into that.
maybe and.
Yeah, no, I do think that's very possible. And the account type. we will get back to you on that.
Awesome.
And let you know if there's a second one, or if we can just simply add a optional prompt. I
Yeah.
know the asterisks, maybe if we have an asterisk on one of them, but if there's a non-asterisk count type that you can include that will summarize, that would be lovely. I totally agree.
Thanks, Hillary. Jane asked, can you run tuition and other charges, or will this only list tuition?
Yes, as Hillary was mentioning, the prompt there for account type will list out some of the other item type balances, as long as they're underneath the various accounts.
Great.
So
Is
currently,
there...
it's a selectable.
Oh, okay. Is there a query that tracks Running Start students that stay after graduation?
I'd almost have, I'm not certain. I don't often run, queries, looking for that. But if there's folks here in the audience that, know of a query or some global information that's out there.
Or
know the
even like
enroll-
best tips on like tracking Running Start students that stay after. My boss and I, we were talking about this the other day, and so I thought I'd just pop it in there. Or I guess, yeah, if anybody has best practices, you can put it in the chat. Thanks.
And if there's not a query that's out there, we're more than happy to work to develop something specifically for that use, for sure.
Haley, I was gonna say, this is Stephanie. I do remember at some point, I can't remember what college, but putting them in like a different student group after they graduate to help kind of hold on. I know some programs have done that to like hold them all. I don't know how effective or if that's going to collect the information that you want or not in terms of tracking. So I don't know if that's a best practice or not, but that's something that I have heard folks do before.
Thank you. I will keep that in mind.
Is there currently, or are you working on a query that will list FTE by month for student by high school district for support of completing summer EVF for returning students? Hope I'm making sense. Me too, Jane. Me too.
That sounds a little bit, I mean, is that information contained in the RS billing report?
The RS billing report doesn't give you month by month data. It just lumps it all for the quarter, and it would change day by day depending on that student's current FTE. So I'm guessing the way most folks are doing it is going back and looking at their invoices and reports they generated and sent to high schools, but that data doesn't live historically in CTC link. That'd be my explanation.
That is something to kind of like mull over, because I think that's a really good idea, Jane. And thank you, Nell. But yeah, how we could even functionality go about that might be something. Put that in the survey. We'll take notes of that too.
For sure,
unless
put
you
in
have
the
some ideas.
survey.
Yeah.
Yes, just like after the last Running Start series, we're going to gather up with the teams and Stephanie and her crew, and we're going to go back over a lot of these to troubleshoot and to brainstorm on whether or not it can be accommodated easily and quickly, or if it's something that is a little too far off for the system to handle.
Great. Nell asked, are there any updates regarding the 910 waiver function in CTC link?
Brandon, are you wanting me to answer that one?
Yeah.
So no updates yet. We need to figure out it. I think part of the survey was trying to understand that a little bit more because Brandon, Spencer, and I had talked about this after our February session in quite a lot of detail. So that was one of the many reasons that we thought a survey would be a good idea to kind of gather more information from everyone. So we're hoping getting a little more information from you all will direct what we need to do moving forward on that one.
And then Katie might have answered this for Keely. Thank you, Katie. But is there a query that tracks Running Start students that stay after graduation?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's why I was suggesting maybe putting them in like a student group to track them afterwards, but that in itself is probably not the best answer either.
Yeah, I only asked because so the conversation came up about so like every spring you do like the exiting process or like the deactivation process for Running Start students. Like we just had something come up where like obviously we do the best we can of knowing who's going to graduate, whatever. There are handfuls of students that do decide to stay with us. Like we had the thing come up where a student decided to stay and it looked like they still had like their Running Start student group, and so their tuition was waived, and it was missed. It happens, this is a very manual process. So I only ask because we're just trying to like eliminate that as much as possible. We track the best that we can, but like I said, we're human, subject to human error. So that's kind of why I brought it up. But thank you for the idea again, and everybody's help.
Can I add something to that? This is Jackie from Walla Walla Community College. I had that same issue a couple years ago where I had some students return and then their tuition was waived. And so what we ended up doing was I do like a mass inactivate all students every quarter. That way you catch all the students. Because I was waiting until the end of the year, so spring quarter, when I would deactivate it, but there were some students who were not returning the following quarter, and then they were not being deactivated by the end of spring. So to fix that, and it's been a couple years now, it hasn't been an issue anymore. I started deactivating them every quarter and then just reactivating them as we got the forms for the following quarter. And then one way to kind of track who may be returning, I run those reports of students who, I mean, it's not the best way, but I do run reports to see how many credits students have or can apply for graduation. And then I also run a report. I can't remember if it's the same one, but I do check that where I could see how many credits they have left and then have that conversation with them if they're planning on returning to finish those here, if they're planning to go out to a 4-year. So there is quite a bit of students, but that's one way where I really try to catch the students who might be coming back to avoid having that issue happen to me again, because I was kind of traumatized from that. So yeah, that's how I went around that.
Thank you. That's helpful. I have been trying to streamline a lot of processes here at Lake Washington, and that's something that I'm kind of working on right now. So I really appreciate that. That's really helpful.
I think those are all the questions that we've gotten so far. Thank you all for being so active in the chat.
All right. Yeah, great. Thank you so much for the collaboration and the helping to answer questions and give suggestions. That's really, really wonderful. Appreciate you all. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions for Brandon, I just wanted to say thank you to Brandon and your team, Brandon, for taking the time, as always, to join us during our monthly session, and just really being willing to adjust and accommodate and create for our system and for our Running Start students. It's very much appreciated. And so I just really encourage everybody, as Brandon said, to fill out that survey so then we can take a look at everything that everyone gives us and see what we can do to make some changes for the better and continue to grow and improve. So I really appreciate everyone's feedback on that and for completing that. And thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, we are going to now turn it on over to Noah Overby for some running start data, which I'm very excited about. And Noah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation, Stephanie. So today I wanted to share some running start data with you. And I was also hoping to take a look at our couple of dashboards that the State Board Policy Research team puts together, one on enrollment and one focused on outcomes. I have been having some tech issues, so might be a little bit different than what I originally envisioned, but we can start with some slides and we'll just kind of go from there and see what we can do. Perfect. So just a little bit of data here about summer running start FTE. So, right, as you all know, right, prior to 2020, there was no summer running start, but there was a pilot in summer 20 and summer 21 that allowed some students to participate as part of exploring whether summer running start is a need and what type of student supports would be needed to make it an effective practice. And then there was a couple of years, summer 22 and summer 23, where students, some running start students, right, who met eligibility requirements, could participate in summer running start through provisos or through the elementary, secondary, emergency. I'm gonna mess it up, but the emergency relief funds with ESSER. And then so 2024, this most recent summer term was the first term where broadly juniors and seniors could participate in summer running start through the 1.4 FTE expansion. And so it was pretty exciting, for me, right? I don't have the same connection to, working individually with students and realizing, what to expect. And so seeing that jump of about 3,000 FTE for this summer was really exciting for me to see all the work that you all are doing and contributing to in order to making summer running start possible for students. Let's go to the next slide. So another thing I wanted to share is just a little bit of data on fall running start FTE. So I think since the inception of the running start program, enrollment has grown each year. That was the case until about the start of the pandemic. So you can see in fall 2020, there was 25,864 fall summer or I've got summer stuck on the tongue now, so forgive me. Fall running start FTE. And then throughout the pandemic, we did see some declines in running start enrollment, but fall 23 last year and fall 24, the most current fall term that has passed, we saw some back-to-back increases. And now we've, as a system, right, the fall 2024 running start FTE has reached a new peak, which was a little bit shy of 28,000 FTE. And that is up 28% from that low point and the trough in fall 2022. So very exciting to see that. So another thing I wanted to share with you, right, it's great to get the data updates, but we also have some resources available to you all where you can access on the State Board's research site in order to take a look at data on running start students and your programs. So there's a link there to the site. Just some basic information, right? Our contact information. Summer and Travis are our director and associate director. But we'll take a look at the quick links because that points to some resources that you all can use. Let's go to that next slide. So within the quick links, we've got different resources. There's publications and various things, but I want to draw your attention to the second bullet point and the third bullet point. Those are links to our dashboard sites. So one thing to know about is the public dashboards. Those are state board research dashboards that you can get to, that anyone can get to, right? They're publicly posted on the web and can be accessed from any location. We do have some college access only dashboards as well, with intent that we want those to be used by folks in our system, so that right, there isn't misinterpretation of the data. And so those are limited to being accessed from one of the community and technical college campuses. All right, so any workstation connected to your campus network would be able to get to that site and access the dashboards. We learned, right, with the pandemic, right, there are more opportunities for folks to work remotely at times, and still want to be able to get to those dashboards. And so you can do that if you have a virtual private network set up with your campus. And if you're not sure if you have that, or you think you have that, or even if you want to have it for the future, the IT folks on your campus would be the ones to speak with about VPN access. That way you could get to college access only dashboards, even if you're not on campus. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So hopefully we are going to take a look at two different dashboard sites. The public site, I wanted to share with you some enrollment data, and that is accessed. We've got different headings. So under the public site, under the enrollment heading, there's a few dashboards. We'll look at enrollment data. There's also a first time entering student outcomes dashboard that I wanted to take a look at, which lives under the college access only site under the student progress and completions heading. Let's go to the next slide. So for the enrollment dashboard, what can you do there? The dashboard can help answer questions about enrollment figures, about student demographics, about programs, for example, about Running Start specifically. And you can view data by term or by academic year. Some example questions, like what might you want to ask from this dashboard, right? How many Running Start FTE do we have? What I showed in the beginning was Running Start FTE for our system, but you can also take a look at college-specific data to look at both your college and peer institutions, to kind of look across the system and see what's going on. You can also take a look at what share of Running Start students were in different demographic groups. So for example, what is the gender balance within our Running Start program in a term? How many students do we have with various race ethnicities? For example, students of color versus non-students of color. We can also take a look at full-time and part-time enrollment trends and student status to see how many students were new Running Start students in a term compared to continuing students. That could be of interest, right, in looking at summer now that this new program is up and running. How many of those students are continuing versus brand new? And then there is some ability to look at course attributes. So you can take a look at what is the balance of enrollment for your Running Start students in online classes versus hybrid classes versus face-to-face, and then like academic versus professional technical as well. So let's go to the next slide. The first time entering cohorts dashboard is a little bit different in that we assign students to an entry cohort based off when they first enroll in the community and technical college system. And the students that get picked up and assigned an entry cohort for those outcomes are dual enrolled students, right? So at the point they enter Running Start, or college in the high school or the alternative high school programs, or if they're seeking an award. So they're in a program that leads to a short-term certificate or grants an associate degree. At that point, students go into that starting cohort, and then we can track their outcomes over time. So we can ask questions, okay, 1 year down the road, 4 years down the road, what do we see from students that started in this term? And we can pull out Running Start students specifically to see what types of outcomes they are attaining. It includes things like credit accumulation, transfer, completion of a credential. So some of the common metrics in the dashboard, you'll be looking under different headings like the credit milestones. So you can ask how many of our Running Starts students earn 15 credits, 30 or 45 credits, within a time frame. Do they attain college level math and college level English? It'll provide retention figures as well. So you can look at, do we retain a student from fall term to spring, right? Or do we retain, how many students do we retain from fall to that second year fall term? And then you can also take a look at completion, right? Do students earn any credential at the community and technical college after starting? And do they transfer to a 4-year institution, or do they start an applied baccalaureate program after having enrolled at the certificate or associate level? Okay, so next slide, I think, is the opportunity for me to kind of start sharing. I'm going to see if I can, let's see. So I am unable to share my screen, but perhaps, Kristen, would you be able to share your screen and head to the sbctc.edu website? And a huge thank you to Kristen. I'm throwing her a big curveball here because I had planned to hop into the dashboards and to do a live demonstration for you. Things were working great up until about an hour ago, right before this meeting started. Perfect. So
Is that the one that you want, Noah?
yeah, so actually that's perfect. Can you click on the logo to start with, just the community and technical colleges? Yes, because I just want to show folks the path to get here. So if you're on the SBCTC website, on the very top left, you'll see college and SBCTC staff. If you click on that, it shows different programs and resources that are available. And if you scroll down on that page, you'll see the research button. Clicking on that takes you to basically our site. So that's the path to get there. But I do recommend that if you're using these dashboard resources, that you bookmark the site and even the particular dashboard that you use so that it's easy to get to. So if you open up the quick links over on the left-hand side, the second bullet there is public dashboards. Fabulous. And you'll scroll down just a little bit. We've got a number of different public dashboards. We're going to look for enrollment under data topics. And we're going to scroll down again. And the particular dashboard we're looking for is the enrollment data. So the very first one. Excellent. So scroll down some more and you'll be able to see the dashboard itself. We're on the intro page here, which is really a great place to start because that gives you sort of an orientation and some information about the dashboard itself. What I'd like to take a look at is a tab on the top called Table Enrollment Trends. So it's about 5 tabs over. Perfect. And whenever I enter the dashboard, what I like to do is I like to work my way down the filters on the right-hand side, and I'll go through each of those to ensure that what I'm seeing is what I'm looking for. So that second slide that I shared, the fall FTE, let's start at the top there where it says headcount FTE or percent and select FTE. Right, so that's full-time equivalent enrollment. And we've got period is annual. So one thing I noticed when I look at this is I'm looking across, right? I'm seeing 190, 170, 140,000 FTE. And then suddenly in 24, 25, it looks like about half of what I would expect. So let's select where it says period annual, select spring quarter. Okay, so that's why we're seeing this big drop. So in 24, 25, we suddenly go to 0 FTE, and that's simply because that data is not available yet. And I know that winter data hasn't been released yet either, and so the dashboard is generating an annual comparison for previous years, and it's only giving us summer and fall for the current year. So let's select fall for the period. Perfect. And then it's showing all colleges, which is great because we're just looking at a system level right now and summary data. We're looking at all student types and all funding sources. Under select programs, could you pick out Running Start for us? Perfect. And so this is a longer view than what I showed, but you can limit to just one or a few years. And from 1819 until 24-25, that is the exact data that I presented to all you in the slide that showed what those FTE trends are. If this is something that you wanted, you're like, yes, I'm interested in this, I want to save this data. If you grab the scroll bar and you go down the page just slightly, you'll see that little tiny box on the lower right-hand side. Yeah, if you click that, you can choose to download the data directly to an Excel file. There's a little icon that shows crosstab, and what that is saying is, do you want to download this as a spreadsheet? So if you click that, it pops up a question. We're interested in the enrollment trends table. So what is selected is exactly what you want. And then you just click download. And so that table that you're seeing right now would be in your downloads folder. And that's something that you could open up, right? You could generate a graph off of that, or just keep it in a table format. So that is perfect. Let's do this now. Let's scroll back up and let's take a look. Scroll down a little bit more for me, Chris. We're going to look at the tabs at the top. Let's look at table demographics. Yeah, and so right now it's showing FTE, right, for fall 2024. Let's click FTE and instead let's look at percent of headcount. Right, so I think of percent of headcount as saying what share of students enrolled in the period were, fill in the blank. So let's click that disaggregate by, and let's take a look at, if you scroll down just a bit, yeah, look at the student status. Okay. Okay, so that shows us at the top, we see system level data that shows this fall term 2024, right? Running Start students, 51% were new to the system, right? We had 2% of students that were transfers from another college, 44% were continuing, and a small percentage had been Running Start students in the past, but they weren't enrolled for spring or summer, right? So they had a break and then they returned to us. And then you can also take a look for each individual college, right? What did that look like, for my campus? Click on the period again and select summer, if you would. Yeah, great. So now I can see that summer quarter, right? This is the first time that we had broad junior and senior participation in Running Start. We had 22% brand new Running Start students that started summer. And at the same time, the bulk of that Running Start participation came from continuing students that stuck with us into the summer term. And again, you can look at different campuses. But that gives you just kind of an idea of how you can work with some of these filters and disaggregate by different things. Another thing that I think is really interesting, if we go back up to the different tabs in the dashboard and click on, sorry, I'm going to throw you a curveball. Let's go to period and select fall. Excellent. And then let's go to that table enrollment trends, which is a tab towards the top right. Fabulous. Okay. And let's disaggregate by, and this time, how about instruction mode? Is that one there? Yeah, excellent. So this is really interesting to me. We can see, prior to the pandemic, right, face-to-face classes. This is saying, right, percent of headcount. What share of students, right, enrolled in that first year is fall 2012. 93% were in a face-to-face class. 17% were in a hybrid, and 20% were in an online class. And those numbers add up to more than 100 because those students could be in both face-to-face and online. But it's fascinating to me to see the change, throughout the pandemic, and to where we are currently, where 73% of students enrolled in fall and Running Start were in an online class, and about half of students overall were in, we're in a hybrid course, and then close to only a third of students were in a, traditional face-to-face class. So you can take a look at that and see what that looks like by your campus, but I just wanted to kind of share that. Okay, so let's take a look at the other dashboard, because I know we're kind of probably running low on time, and I want to give you a chance to see that as well.
Where would you like me to go, Noah?
Go back to that tab you were on with the web browser. Perfect. So scroll up. And if you could click on Applied Research and Analysis.
Noah, we have time, so take your time. You don't need to rush through.
Okay.
Anything. Yeah.
All right. So
you.
let's take a look at the quick links again. And so this time we're going to access the college access only. And I'm pretty sure Kristen's got her VPN set up and we can get to this, so that'll be awesome. We're going to look at student progress and completions. Okay, we're going to scroll down a little bit. Perfect. So a bunch of different dashboards. We want to look at the first time entering student outcomes dashboard, which is the very top one in that list. Okay, and we're going to scroll down and it should land us perfect on the introduction page. So again, I think the introduction page is a really great place to kind of get oriented to the dashboard. If we had more time, we'd go through and we'd read all that information. But what this page is showing you is what all the different views in the dashboard are. And we can look at things like credit milestones, retention and completion, transfer. Let's start by looking at retention. Great. So again, anytime I'm approaching the dashboard, what I like to do is I like to go through each of the filters on the right-hand side and make sure that I've selected the groups that I'm interested in. Right now, I notice cohort on the top right, it's showing all students. So what that's lumping together is all the students that started as either first time ever in college, first time at the institution, Running Start, college and the high school, they're all in this group. But I think for this audience, let's select the Running Start students. Perfect. So this means that when the student entered the college, they entered as a Running Start student. Click the retention completion button. It's about halfway down on your filters on the right-hand side. Yeah, so let's look at first fall to spring. Okay, so we see for students that were enrolled in Running Start in the fall, close to 90% of them continued into spring quarter, or they're enrolled at least fall and spring. We can also select that filter and look at how many of those students were retained into the second fall. So in this case, select retention, and we'll go first fall to second fall. I like to think of that more simply as just 1 year retention marker. Right. So we see that students that participated, right, really high retention through the first year. We see some students that don't return for that second year. Lots of reasons for that, right? Part of it, they could have started as high school seniors, right? And they might have gone on to do different things. They might be high school juniors that stuck around. They might be high school seniors that stuck around, right? We don't make a distinction between what their status is in that second fall, but simply we base the outcomes off their starting point. One thing I think is really interesting here is if you choose disaggregation and you select full-time, part-time. Yeah, so interesting. So this means that students that started Running Start full-time in the fall, that top band, more than 3/4 of them returned for a second fall term in the subsequent year. And students that were part-time, right, we're looking 15, 20 percentage points lower, right? So they have participation with us. Many of them are staying, but not nearly as many continue into that second year. Let's scroll up to the different views, and if you select a little triangle on the left-hand side, yeah, I think this is kind of a nice way to navigate the different views, because some of them might not show up because they're kind of far off to the right on that top band. How about credit milestones year met? Yeah. I think this is a great way to kind of explore your data. This is Running Start students currently. This is looking at 15 credits year met. So that dark bar shows it's 80 plus, close to 90% of Running Start students are earning 15 or more credits in their first year. Right? We have a small percentage, about 5%, perhaps less, that earn 15 credits in their second year. Few more that earn 15 credits by their third year. Go ahead and select that 15 credits year met under milestones. And let's take a look at like 45 credits, right? We want to see a bigger milestone. So a couple of things I see here is I look at, wow, over time, right, we've got far more students that are earning 45 credits within their first year through the Running Start program, right? It suggests that enrollment intensity has increased. And we also see a significant number of students, 30, 35% that earn 45 credits by their second year. So, right, we see in the third year, yeah, few more students are earning 45 credits. Fourth year, a few more students are earning 45 credits, but the bulk of that comes from those first 2 years of participation, right? Either in Running Start or afterwards if they're retained with us. Let's go to the milestone and look at completion. Yeah, completion year met. Okay, so this tells me, so for students that started as Running Start, very few of them are earning a credential in their first year. Not totally surprising, right? I mean, maybe if they're pursuing a short-term certificate, that could be possible, but particularly if they're doing an associate degree, it's going to probably take them longer. So within 2 years, right, we see that number has really increased over time, but 30% or more of students in the last couple of years are earning a credential through Running Start by their second year. Right, third year and fourth year, we do see some additional completions, but really those first 2 years are sort of critical in terms of how many students earn a credential with us. Let's scroll up to the different views, and we can select that little triangle again and look at completion. Or no, sorry, I lied. Let's take a look instead at post-college transfer. Okay, and just select where it says disaggregate. We're just going to do summary because we just want to see at the very top of that. Perfect. Okay, so this tells me that right now we're on, if you select transfer year, just open up. Yeah, perfect. So we've got 2 different groups. We've got transfer to a 4-year college, which basically means, some institution that offers bachelor's degrees, but is not a community and technical college in this case. And then we also have CTC baccalaureate transfer. And the way that we calculate that is student entered an applied baccalaureate degree at a community or technical college in our system. It could have been at the same college. We're calling it a transfer here simply because it might be the same college, might be a different college, but it's that progression from an associate or certificate degree level up to a bachelor's degree. And I think that's generally what we're looking for when we're talking about transfer. We're looking for that kind of upward trajectory of the student. So let's just look at the one that we're on right now. Perfect. So this means Running Start students started with the CTC system, and within 4 years, how many of them transferred to a baccalaureate granting institution outside of our system? So over half of students have typically done that. If we can disaggregate this as well, and we can look by full-time, part-time, just to see. And what's striking to me about this is there's not a huge difference, right, in those lines. Right, we're talking 56% versus 58%. So Running Start students that start part-time with us are often successful with transfer, just like students that start with us full-time. But that full-time, part-time enrollment really has implications for whether they earn a credential with us, right? Probably a lot of that depends on, what are the students' goals when they enroll in Running Start. But just interesting to me, there's kind of different trajectories and paths. But this gives you an opportunity to at least kind of explore some of that data. I don't know that I mentioned it, but if you scroll up, both the dashboards have a college filter. So where it says select college, you can select your institution. And in this case, it would give you a comparison of, what do your figures look like compared to the system overall. So I hope you'll have a chance to kind of play around with that and explore, perhaps generate some conversations on your campus. One thing that we are working towards is a new transfer dashboard, because then one question that comes up a lot is, okay, so we know those students transferred, where'd they go? And so that's data that we are working on and hoping to be able to launch later this spring, so that we can share out that resource, get feedback and revise that. So that's what I had planned for the presentation. We can go ahead and stop that and just check in to see if there are any questions. Right. Well, hearing none, thank you, Kristen, for driving and leading us through that exercise, and thank you all for your attention. I hope that's something that you'll find useful in exploring data for your campuses.